As someone who watched, I'll be the first to admit, I watched CNN in 2016, and I felt the same vibes last night watching Fox. They couldn't believe what was happening. At the end of the night, they were going, man, maybe abortion was actually a big deal. Well, yeah. It was literally the number one exit polling issue for Democrats.
Exit polling, but
over inflation for Democrats. Number one. It was the number one issue. And people acted like 5 months ago, all these women and all these folks that were really pissed about Roe were just going to forget about it. The reason they registered 5 months ago was for yesterday.
So just so
it was
you know,
the number one issue exit
right.
polling
and there
for
was
Democrats.
A New York Times poll that had 5%. I'm just saying, polls can't believe them, but there were the New York Times.
This is exit polling, though.
I know. I'm saying the polls leading up to it. That's why people thought maybe the enthusiasm for that issue died down, based on that. But one thing you don't understand is, I don't care about introspection from the pundits. Like, I don't care what someone says. I care about what the elected officials say. That's what could impact me, not what someone on Fox or CNN says. That's why you never hear me in a tizzy over what this guy said or that guy. It's always about someone that's elected. So I'm talking about introspection from Democrats and Republicans that are in office, not what Fox and Friends says or
these are strategists though that work for
Anderson Cooper.
But they
I don't
work
care
for these folks. I mean, they're strategists for the party.
Yeah, I don't care. Those are mouthpieces. I'm talking about the people that are actually in office.
If that red wave hit, Nate would be dancing on graves. Cray cray.
Doubtful.
First of all, I can't believe Nate didn't first go for the jugular on me, because he was very right about one thing, and that's where I'll disagree with Kat. If you're a Republican and you don't see what happened last night, and you don't see specifically that Ron DeSantis freaking dominated a state, by the way, by what, 19, 20 points, that Trump only won by 3? Basically, that was Florida, and everybody saying, this should be your guy. And all of those Trump-appointed folks, a lot of the election deniers, if they were in a close state, they lost. Like, the voters told you last night, Republican Party, I'm just trying to help here. They said,
help us.
I'm dead serious.
No, help.
But did they
help
not?
them.
But Cam, did they not?
No,
they said divorce yourself from Donald Trump, and Ron DeSantis will freaking win in a landslide in 2024 if you do that. That's what I saw last night.
Yeah, and that's why I've said all along, I hope Trump doesn't run.
I know.
I've been saying that. DeSantis is a better candidate.
I don't get my panties all in a bunch.
I didn't need the election results to tell me that DeSantis is a better candidate.
But by 20 points?
Tim Scott is a good candidate to run with. He's another guy, had a good night, who seems to be a guy who can appeal to independents. And I agree with you. Look, the Trump is sort of a toss-up now.
Yeah, he is.
But he did help J.D. Vance, but that was a hold. That wasn't a new pickup.
That's a 10-point state.
Yeah, I know, but that's he
underperformed the state. J.D. Vance underperformed the state.
He was a guy that started from nothing. I'm just telling you, he's not a great candidate. And I'm not saying Trump, but when Trump endorsed him, it helped him. There's no question he got a boost off it.
How?
Trust me, I'm not. Because
he underperformed Republicans.
Because he was well under that even when the race started. He was down. He came out of nowhere, really, and climbed in the polls. He surged.
In the primary?
In this, I don't remember what happened in the primary. He wasn't a great candidate. I'm sure Democrats put money into J.D. Vance because they thought he was beatable. I'm saying when this election started, he was way down in the polls, J.D. Vance. I know it was a hold.
He didn't help them at all.
And I know.
He underperformed the state.
Because even on CNN, they were saying, when they were talking about the good and bad of Trump, they were saying J.D. Vance was someone who got a bounce from being endorsed by Trump. And then his opponent used that against him because he was anti-Trump when he started as a candidate, J.D. Vance. And what's the guy he ran against called him a butt kisser?
Tim Ryan. But that's a 10-point state that J.D. Vance won by about 7 points, so it didn't help him.
Well, if you look at where he was in the polls, and then
primary?
once he got endorsed. No, in this particular campaign, he was down.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
I went through our local graveyard after the polls closed yesterday. It looks like a lot of them voted Democrat. Saw a bunch of I voted stickers. Johnny in the Berg. Unfortunately, people are too stupid to realize that Roe is only impacted by the state government and not the Senate. Jackie boy.
Not if they have a federal ban.
Yeah, I don't get that, man. You know?
Well, you overturned something that 60% of the country didn't like. I mean, there was going to be consequences.
Yeah. The one positive about last night is we'll no longer have Nancy Pelosi and her smooth ride choppers involved in running Congress, the Nate Lemming. What drops you got over there before we get into this damn Blues game?
What those gums look like when she doesn't have those puppies in there.
Smoother ride.
I would say this. It is funny that, before the results started pouring in, I was watching CNN, and they were putting up these polls of how 80% of the country is not happy with the direction, or they think that the country's headed in the wrong direction. And by and large, last night, we saw quite a few incumbents get voted right back into their posh little seats. And if 80% of the country thinks that we're headed in the wrong direction, and yet we're too dumb as an electorate to keep voting in the same people, it's like there should be a mass case study on this, because the politicians have figured out that a recognizable name is going to get put back in office.
Yeah, no matter what.
And I don't understand why we can't get term limits initiated. I think it'd be a much better, much cleaner political landscape if term limits were put into policy.
I like this, Nate. I do.
Yeah, but don't you understand that people think the country's going in the wrong direction for different reasons?
Yeah, I get that.
It's not a monolith. Like if abortion was a big issue and suddenly Roe versus Wade is overturned, you're going to be upset with the direction of the country for that reason. It's not one big reason why people are upset with the wrong direction of the country, where you think, oh, it means this. It means a lot of things to different people, in my opinion. That's why I think when you put that out there, this will be the determination as to which way this election will go, you're probably going to be wrong because it's not clear.
No, I agree with you, but if you don't change the individuals and you just keep putting them back into power, I think you're going to get the same old results.
Well, which direction do you think this country's going in, Nate? What's your take on it? As far as
what's your take, Cam?
Well, I take that. When I buy stuff, it's more expensive. I see that firsthand. That can't be good. I mean, gas prices are still wishy-washy. Can't get any damn cars in here. You can't buy little computer chips for different things. So now everything's slowed down. Businesses are still not coming about. I mean, look at this little place right here, Gold's Gym. This place right next door. I see that every day.
But who do you blame for that?
I don't know.
I think the difference is
that's the thing. But I see that. I see it.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Inflation slaps everybody in the face every day, 5 times at the store.
Yep.
I think the difference
is... and crime, by the way. Crime, big time.
That's a big issue. If you look at the exit polling of the issues that Republicans versus Democrats prioritized for Republicans, and this is according to Reuters, it was inflation, it's crime and immigration. The number 1 and 2 for Democrats for this cycle, abortion and gun policy.
Yeah.
So it's
I don't mind the gun policy.
And
abortion.
My thing is, I agree with you.
Down the middle with the abortion thing, too.
Yeah, well, this is why I said, when people said the last several months that the country's going in the wrong direction, I think a lot of people assumed that was all blaming either Democrats or Biden. And I'm telling you, as a person who's a Democrat, and I talk with a lot of Democrats, they feel like the country is going in the wrong direction for completely opposite reasons of why Republicans think the country is going in the wrong direction.
I am not smart enough to understand that the
what other reason besides abortion do they think? Do you think crime too? I mean,
crime was I think.
But your buddy, your buddies though.
Well, here's where we can get into an argument about this, but you guys joked about democracy being on the line.
It's on the line. It's at stake.
Well, almost all of the election deniers lost. And that was a huge deal. Most Democrats, me included, were absolutely appalled by January 6th and 100% think that Donald Trump tried to overturn the election. They were appalled by that. That was a huge issue.
No, I know.
Huge
I get
issue.
You. Does that, I don't know. I don't know how I think of that. I don't know enough about it. There's
did you follow it?
Yeah, I did. But there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that was debunked, and then this happens, and that's very confusing, to be honest with you. So I don't really have a staunch take on that whole situation. Was it optically horrible? Yeah, it was. How many people died? One. That was bad,
Election denier Stacey Abrams also lost.
Yeah. There you go.
She didn't really
But
deny
is that the number one thing on my mind? No. Going downtown and getting carjacked. It's probably it's up there. That's up there. Spending a ton of money is up there. January 6th, I'm like, I don't know enough about it. There's too much, so much going on with it. It's weird.
Because there's been denying on both sides.
Know.
The difference is that there were 2,000 people that were idiots that went into the Capitol and rioted. I never thought that. I understand the investigation as to whether or not Trump was orchestrating this coup. And if there is, hopefully he'll go to jail.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the people that broke into the Capitol, and most of them broke into it, are in jail.
Yeah.
And there was a long investigation, and they should be in jail.
And I'm not comparing the two, but there were politicians on both sides who actively promoted riots and all sorts of horrible things that unfolded with BLM and the Summer of Love, and that went on for months and months and months, where cities were destroyed and they still haven't been rebuilt. Go to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and see how that place is doing.
Listen,
I'm going to go to Chaz.
Listen, I'm not disputing
But that wasn't
it.
an election. That's the difference. And that's terrible, by the way. Those riots were absolutely terrible. Those riots don't impact democracy in the way that Democrats looked at January 6th. And by the way, Trump, have you ever heard of a president holding a rally on January 6th where they bust people in? You think that was a coincidence? Has a president ever in the history of our country held a rally when he lost? Right
Herbert
down
Hoover
there.
did.
I doubt that.
Listen,
I highly doubt that. Trump hustling?
the problem that I have with the riots thing, and the Vice President of the United States actually supported the bail fund for the rioters, which I think is a disgrace, a total disgrace. She did that, but that doesn't make January 6th all right. And I understand people are upset. I never thought democracy was on the brink right there. I thought it was a bunch of idiots acting out because they were upset they didn't get their way, and most of them are paying a price for it, and that's the way it should be. I said watching that was so sad. It was a sad day for this country, and President Trump should have, regardless of if you think he was involved and started, I'm not even going to debate that, but he should have, at the very least, he could have gone there and said, stop it.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't.
I swear, I'll never speak
Because
to
he
you
liked
again.
it.
Look,
let's be honest. He liked it.
He's a flawed guy. He's a flawed guy who still has a lot of popularity, but also a lot of negatives. That's why I've been saying for months.
Quiet.
I hope he doesn't run again.
I know.
But you guys could also reject him. That's what I'm saying. Like, this was a mandate from DeSantis. The voters already rejected Trump in 2020. And then January 6th happened, and the Republican Party as a whole still could not divorce themselves from Donald Trump. They went after, and by the way, any candidate other than Herschel Walker probably wins in Georgia. Any candidate other than Mehmet Oz probably wins.
I agree with that.
Any candidate other than Blake Masters.
Fetterman's a good candidate, though.
I don't get what makes Blake Masters a bad candidate.
Well, he was very extreme.
Listen,
I think he was portrayed as extreme. I don't necessarily. I don't know. Well, I mean, I've listened to a lot of Blake Masters. I think that the way that they characterized him was beyond belief. I don't get the extreme element.
Well, this is where Jim and I will disagree, because I was going by things he said. He said he wanted a federal abortion ban. He was an election denier. And even if you don't like it, he said in a campaign stop, I want to privatize Social Security. These are things that man said, which is why, by the way, Kerry Lake was outpolling him. I mean, I'm talking about right now the results. Kerry Lake might still win for governor, and Blake Masters will lose. So Kerry Lake was much more popular than Masters.
But they also, like Mitch McConnell, like the GOP needs to have a serious internal look at things too, because where they decided to spend money was disastrous, and they had, and some of it was trying to go pump up Trump-supported candidates that needed help, like what you're saying about J.D. Vance. Like they had to pour an unnecessary amount of money into those races. Blake Masters basically got zero money from the GOP. And that makes a difference. And so I think there is this fracture within the GOP of whether you follow McConnell's side of things or Trump politics. And the two are going to have to converge in some type of alignment. And if they don't, you're going to have a pretty fractured party. And I think we already have one, but I don't know what they do. Get their act together. Run better candidates. And run on the damn economy. That's what they need to do. Stop talking about anything else. Yeah. Run on the economy and fix this BS because we're at a 40-year high in inflation, and every single person feels that. And the fact that they cannot focus on that and win on it is such an embarrassment for these losers.
I've said all along.
I like Nate today, man.
I've said all along.
It's got a clear conscience.
Masters, look, I think I think he has some likability. Oz and certainly Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker was a disaster, and he was a bad candidate. I said that. And Oz had no likability, zero likability, and he just dropped in. He's not from there. He went to college in Pennsylvania. Of course, that's a huge negative. They were bad candidates. I said that from the beginning. And repudiating Trump, I've said for a long time, he has too many negatives, whether you like him or you don't. Yeah. He's not going to help your party. So, I think DeSantis, and that's what I think Republican spin is now.
Should be.
The big story from last night is DeSantis. Well, no one thought he was going to lose, and it turned out to be a bigger win than the polling indicated. But I think he's proven himself to be a legitimate candidate for president for months now, and he should be the guy.
100%.
I also like Tim Scott a lot. I think I don't know what the demographics are because part of it is you need a swath of this country, part of the country, that part of the country. But I think those two guys are legitimate candidates. So if you're the Republicans and you're looking at how you should have won certain races, you didn't because you had bad candidates, go with that. But someone's got to tell Trump, hey, if you care about the party,
exactly,
maybe because I still think he probably doesn't. But he still has power. He still has some power. Yeah. There's still a lot of people that do like. Yep. How about helping from the wings? How about being the guy that puts us over the top? Someone should talk to him. And I don't know if you can, because one of the things I used to mock him about all the time was he had handlers that said, "Don't talk about this. Don't talk to anyone." No better.
I think his power is more akin to Ross Perot at this point than what he was in 2016, and that shows you how far it has fallen.
Yep.
I don't give a damn.
January 6th wasn't worse than Pearl Harbor or 9/11, but I hate Hoosiers more than anything, and that was some Hoosier stuff. The most uneducated group of people were all in one place that day, and more than half of them probably don't even know why. Cray. Listen, all those riots had a lot of uneducated people on it, just to be But there were a bunch of Hoosiers, man. I get you.
And some educated people that were idiots too.
Yeah.
And some people running. Some of the folks running were there. What Nate said.
Go to a riot and see how many educated people.
What Nate said about some of the Trump candidates. So look at what's happened the last couple of years. Now, obviously, Florida has gotten much redder. But you now are losing Georgia. I mean, when would you have ever thought that Republicans would lose Georgia? And they had to pour money. I mean, it's going to be crazy for the next month again. You're going to see Herschel Walker memes for the next month. They had to pour so much money into Georgia, a state that used to be an easy win. And look at J.D. Vance. As I said, Mike DeWine won the governor by 25 points, and J.D. Vance won by 7. They had to pour millions of dollars into Ohio, which was a 10-point state for Trump, to defend that state, instead of pouring all that money into races that should have been much closer.
And Kemp actually had a bigger margin than a lot of the polls said, and that didn't help Herschel. And Warnock is not a great candidate by any stretch. He's got a lot of dirt, that he lugs around as well on the campaign trail.
Charlie is literally... Go ahead.
Do you think we've seen the end of Stacey Abrams and Beto O'Rourke running...
Beta?
For governor? I mean, I don't know. Those two.
They help.
Beta.
They help down ballot. Yeah. Both of those candidates, by the way, they're it's like Tim Ryan. they're actually really good candidates in the wrong state. They're really good candidates in deep red states, but they usually outperform the electorate.
Jim still expects Trump to do the right thing. Give it up, Stevie boy. Yeah, man, he's probably not. But it'd be nice if he did, but he's probably not.
He was celebrating.
Selfish.
He was celebrating Republican losses last night. If there
He's
was
out
a
of his
dude-
mind.
If there was a dude that he didn't support,
He's out of his mind.
He was He's not.
He's Kanye West.
He's not a fan of Republicans. He's a
Get
fan
him out
of
of
himself.
here.
News.
Well, then hopefully, I mean, if you're a Republican, then you look at DeSantis and Trump in a primary. You would think DeSantis wins, and maybe that solidifies him with all the folks that were Trumpers and will continue to be Trumpers.
Stop.
Who? And I'm not going to say they're. I'm not going to say that if you supported Trump, you're a Nazi. I'm not going to say that. I think that's one of the things too that, like the unifying. President Biden's a unifier. He's not. Maybe that.
He's not anything.
Maybe that'll be introspection too. Maybe we can do better now that he doesn't have the House. Then maybe that'll be better now.
Colorado's going to decriminalize magic mushies, Berbroni. Dang,
I saw that.
Hey, Nate, call your brother up, baby. We got a road trip to go to.
He actually has gone down the
Mushroom trail?
like the micro dosing from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of guys do, man.
What does that mean?
You just take a little bit of it. You just take a little bit of it and get you going a little bit.
Get behind the wheel of a car.
No, they don't really
I don't-
drive. He doesn't.
don't-
He barely drives in Crested Butte. That's one of the nice things. And
I
you
get-
know what's cool? I think I've said this
I don't
before,
know.
but like
No,
they don't even lock their doors. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a quaint town.
just understand me when I say this. I'm for people wanting to do what they want to do. I really am. Like, if that's your thing, God bless.
Damn right.
But I think one of the things that has been better in this country is people are more responsible about understanding you can't drink and get behind the wheel of a car. So now we have a whole flood of other things that are now going to be legal. Mm-hmm. Will that impact how people handle the responsibility of not getting behind the wheel of a car?
No to all
I
y'all.
think that's fair, right?
Note to all y'all. If you take magic mushies, don't drive anywhere because your vision will be all effed up. Now, being on a dock is the best. Kick your feet up on a dock and jam out the music. Don't get in a damn car.
Don't you think, though, like it used
But
to
a
be.
boat, mate. No, I'm joking.
It used to be. I'm actually a better driver when I'm a little buzzed.
No,
Yes,
man, no one
because-
is. No
right?
one is.
You're not.
It's stupid.
And secondly,
Yeah. No one is.
Well, because I know I'm a little buzzed, I go slower. I stop it. That's not even the point. The point is reaction time when you have to make a split-second decision. My guess is if you're under the influence of anything like that, your reaction
hinders
time
it.
is slower and it becomes dangerous.
Anybody who thinks January 6th was more of a threat than Chaz incident needs to get their heads checked. They literally took apart a city and made their own policy, and we let it happen. January 6th was a couple hours, and people are in jail for it. Gino.
It's not the same.
Chaz was a bizarre situation, though.
little-
Don't get me wrong.
This little
The Capitol-
two-block area of poop and pee in the middle of the street is not the same of people storming the Capitol. It's not. It's just not.
Jimmy's
And
down the
also-
middle. Jimmy's down the middle.
Oh yeah.
It's all fake news.
And also, I think, in my opinion, folks are focusing too much on the folks who were there, who, for the most part, a lot of those people did go in there and took some pictures. Now, a lot of them beat the hell out of Capitol Police officers. But Democrats were more focused on the fact that if you actually followed that, it was Republicans who were doing all the testifying for January 6th. And it was Republicans who were in there. I know you don't like Cheney and Kinzinger and all those folks. But behind the scenes, Donald Trump was trying to do everything in his power through alternate electors, through moving out Mike Pence. You had Ginny Thomas, the wife of a Supreme Court justice, trying to talk to the chief of staff. There was basically a slow-moving administrative coup going on. Like, that's what happened. And I know, but look,
Get his ass out. Put him in jail.
here's what I'm saying. Like, I get this. We all live in our
Put him in
different
jail.
media echo chambers. And if you watch and consume Republican media, you never see that coverage. If you watch CNN, that's all they talk about.
I've watched.
And vice
I've watched
versa.
all
I watched the hearings. I watched some of the hearings, to be honest, because I want to know. And I look, I get what they're saying. Prove it. And secondly, I still want to know.
The dude was on the phone calling Raffensperger and saying, "Find me 11,000 votes." That's worse than anything that ever happened at Watergate. And still, you can have the man on tape and still people say it wasn't anything. He was on tape. He said, "Find me 11,000 votes
he broke
in
the
the state
law,
of Georgia."
Put him in jail.
Put him in jail. And if he was so bad, then he should pay the price, which apparently is now because his endorsements don't mean much, and he'll be marginalized that way. But I do think there are other things that I'd like to know about that happened on January 6th, including pipe bombs. I know that's a crazy conspiracy theory. I want to know more about it, not just did Trump do it or not. There's a lot of things that I think should be investigated on how that was able to happen. How that was able to happen. It was a disgrace.
I mean, they bust people. People that were running for office last night were there and contributed money to bust folks to D.C.
To take over the Capitol. To storm the Capitol.
Why do you have a rally on January 6th when you lost?
Because
when has it ever happened in the history of our country?
Herbert Hoover.
Because some people doubted the election.
You're allowed to doubt the election.
That's their right.
Democrats doubted. Democrats still to this day talk about 2000 with Gore and Bush. They say, "Hey, but guess what?
Caesar Rising.
They didn't storm the Capitol.
But
they conceded the election."
That. I'm not saying storming the Capitol is okay. So don't bring that up. What would
I'll
be
bring
wrong
up whatever
with people?
I want to.
Why would people going to protest an election that they had questions about is illegal? Storming the Capitol is illegal. Breaking in and assaulting people, that's why you should go to jail.
Democrats also rioted in D.C. on Inauguration Day in 2020, for what it's worth.
In 20?
In 2016.
They did.
Charlie,
Yes.
get off your January 6th arguments. America was founded on insurrection. What happened when America was created? ? Insurrection against England? What happened in the Civil War? Insurrection? It's called democracy, not insurrection.
Don't be rude.
Johnny
So
from the bag.
the Civil War was that was a good thing.
Johnny in the bag.
That was a good thing.
The ending was right. It all worked out.
To me, protest. Have your beliefs. Don't storm the Capitol. Don't hurt anybody.
Just don't protest.
And also, if you're a news organization, okay, you can have pundits saying they believe this, but don't lie about facts. You can't lie about the facts, okay? So do we see that the election was stolen? Well, I haven't seen enough facts to say it was stolen. So that would be a lie. But you're allowed to have your opinions about elections, as we have over every single election. Go and protest all you want. But once you break into the Capitol and hurt people, you should go to jail. If you're a politician and you're involved and you've broken the law, you should go
to jail.
Period.
And if I'm a Republican, by the way, I understand that they're probably a little down today, but you could totally look at it. No, I'm serious. They gave you a mandate. And they said, if you back DeSantis and you finally just cut the cord with Donald Trump, by the way, if they would have not attached themselves to all these Trump candidates, you had 40-year highs in inflation. You had a president who has just a
Mr.
ridiculously
Magoo.
low approval rating. You could have picked up 40 House seats.
agree,
You could have picked up 4 Senate seats. And by the way, you probably still can. You probably can do those things and achieve those goals in 2024 if you back DeSantis and you finally divorce yourself from Donald Trump. You will win in a landslide.
Get away from Trump
in 2024 if you do what the voters told you once again last night you should do.
Get away from him.
I just think from a if you're being rational from a strategy standpoint, Trump has so many negatives. You have people in your own party that can't stand him.
Yeah.
So I would think at some point, just out of survival mode, you understand that. I get that.
You want to get on a lighter note?
The worst news of the night, by far, is that somehow St. Louis County reelected Sam Page. I mean, that to me is such a disgrace. I have no idea how that man won, and it's like I just don't get it. I don't understand.
Do
how
you know too many people that like him?
For Sam Page?
See, that's why I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
And my own introspection. Was I am in a bubble because I really don't know anyone that likes Page.
I know.
And here's the thing: it was going to be a long shot for Mantovani anyway, because he was a Democrat. Now he's running as Republican, and he got in late. Like the Republican candidate, forget the woman's name, was the candidate?
Decker.
And then she just backed out, and so you had a Democrat.
No, she was the primary.
but he didn't have he didn't have. I was watching the coverage last night, and I didn't follow it as closely as I should have. But they were saying he got a slow start anyway. But he's a guy that I saw in the ads being billed as an extremist. I know him a little bit. He is in the middle. He never really was a full Democrat or a full Republican. Yeah. So nothing extreme about him. He's a businessman. Yep. He seems like a nice guy.
Really nice.
But
guy.
I don't know anyone that is like a raucous page supporter.
I know.
I don't know anyone.
Well, I just think it's the makeup of the county. Again, it's like all these races. If you are going to be competitive in Ohio, you better be the greatest Democrat candidate ever. For Raphael Warnock to even be 50-50 shows he's a dang good candidate.
Dang good.
But if you're in St. Louis County and you're a Republican, you're starting from a position of weakness because there's so many more Democrat voters. And the other thing is, like, I watched that debate because it was on Fox 2, and I'm fine. Both those guys, to me, are, like, I watched the debate. They were both Democrats basically agreeing with each other.
I agree with your agreement.
I know Mantovani has more of a business background, but, like, I watched the full hour debate. Shirley Washington and Andy Banker, my people there, did a great job. And it was two dudes essentially agreeing with each other on 85% of every issue because Mantovani is essentially a Democrat.
I always thought he was a moderate Democrat.
No, but yeah.
Sort of in the
both
middle.
of them, to me,
so they're in the
pretty reasonable.